Welcome to Rockit Garage, and on my last video I did a toolbox tour and it got me thinking of back when I started doing bodywork in high school. So I did 3 years of tech school in high school, and then I halfway started my own shop, and then I also worked at a collision center for a year before I left there and just went full-time at my shop. Anyways, I figured I would do a video on like the entry level, what I would recommend getting into bodywork, because that's kind of where I started, and all the mechanical stuff just came out of necessity because I am too cheap to pay someone else to work on my cars. So anyways, let's get into the video and show some tools. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not, thank you for coming back. Let's get right into it. And the first thing I would recommend if you're going to be in the body shop industry is going to be this pocket air gun. Just goes right in your pocket, and then you twist it to open it. Close it back up. I don't really use it too much now that I'm at my own house doing stuff, but this is a really good way for people not to steal your blower and spend 20 minutes looking for a blower when there's 5 or 6 technicians working, because they like to steal that stuff. Anyways, moving on. I would recommend a magnet of some sort, because you're going to be dropping little body screws and everything. This is a Blue Point. This one's pretty nice, but I started off with this Harbor Freight telescoping magnet. The Blue Point's a little bit longer and it's a little bit more stout. This thing, Harbor Freight one, the front end kind of comes off because I broke it. But anyways, one of those type of pocket magnets, whether you're a mechanic or not, I would recommend a pocket light. This one is the Streamlight Stylus Pro. I've got like 3 of those, but this one obviously you can see I wear this all the time. Let's get into actual tools. If you're just starting out and you don't know if you actually want to do body work, this Harbor Freight set, and it comes with dollies. Like I said, if you're not sure if you actually want to do body work full time, or if you're going to even stay in the industry, don't go blow your money on a set of hammers and dollies. Just get the Harbor Freight one. And if you realize that you are going to be staying in this industry, get you a nice set of dollies. And I'll show you a little bit of the difference here. These are Martins. I think I got these from Eastwood, or at least Eastwood used to sell them. These are awesome bodywork hammers. So if you really want to know the difference between a cheap set of hammers and a nice set of hammers, whether it's like Snap-on or these Martins, I really like the Martins. But anyways, I'm not sponsored by anybody. I just have a collection of tools. But the big difference is when you hear the density of the metal, I guess you say. But actually, hear how that's kind of hollow? Here's the Martins. Yeah, they got a really nice ring to it. They're a lot harder of a metal. These ones are obviously been beat to heck, but they work. These ones just work better, so I'll just keep these out. And there's all sorts of hammers that I have. It's a full set plus this waffle, the shrinking hammer. These Eastwood teardrop mallets are more for metal shaping. You're never really going to use these in a collision center. These are probably the most used sanding blocks in the industry for a long time. They're Durablocks. They come in a set. I have them strewn around everywhere. So they come in a pretty expansive set, but you get a long one, a medium long, a short, you get a square one, you get a round one, and I actually modified that round one and cut it in half. That way I can do smaller radiuses. But then I also have this 3M set, which is actually identical to the Durablock. They're just yellow, and I liked the yellow when I bought them. But you can see they're the same. same stuff. I actually got a really good deal on these. That's why I ended up buying them. A cheese grater, this one is all beat to crap, but when you first lay down body filler, right before it kicks off and gets real hard, you can just kind of file down some of that filler. That way you're not sanding all of what you put on. You can kind of get 50% there with the cheese grater. The Durablocks are pretty much go-to for anybody starting out. I wouldn't recommend like the acrylic stuff just yet if you're just starting out. And then I would get some soft sanders. These are really nice for radiuses, like on the top of a roof from the sail panel into the roof, or just body edges and stuff. But there's a couple there. I have some of these acrylic blocks, like the big kid blocks, but honestly, people have been using those for decades, and there's nothing wrong with those. Body clamps. If you're actually going to be taking off body panels like quarter panels or rockers, or doing any type of sheet metal replacement, you're gonna need a set of vice grip body clamps. And I've got dozens and dozens of them. These are pretty cheap. I've had these for years. They're just Pittsburghs, and you can tell I've welded on them. Got a lot of hours on these. Again, if you're just starting out, you're probably gonna end up being just a shop kid, running around doing everyone else's stuff that they don't wanna do, taking out trash, sweeping, getting tape, getting things for everybody. But once they start letting you do some work, you're probably just gonna be in the bodywork section, so just prep. You're not gonna be doing any painting. But once you decide on getting some air tools, there's a few that I would recommend. An angle grinder with a roll lock attachment. These are awesome. And what I do is I get the small roll lock. This is probably dangerous, and then I do the 3-inch roll locks with a cutoff wheel on the back. That way you get the hardness of the backer, but then you can also get on the edge and grind with it, and then it'll get smaller as you use it, so you can use the whole roll lock. A good 90-degree grinder is invaluable. I use this daily. This one's a snap-on version. I have no idea what the part number is on it. Carbide bit, just straight die grinder. That one's just a Husky, nothing crazy. Another good air tool to have is going to be an air cutoff wheel. These are awesome. I have a grinding disc on it right now, but you can cut with it. It's just a little thicker than the cutoff wheels. This one is just a central pneumatic, Harbor Freight special. These things work pretty good as long as you keep them oiled. And then an air file. This is going to speed up all of your quarter panel, your doors, your hood, your roofs, any big areas that you're gonna be doing filler. A air file is prudent. But this is a cheap one. This is a Performance Tools. I think this is from O'Reilly's. The Hutchins is the top dog. These things are awesome. I actually have to rebuild this one because I kind of wore it out. I bought it at a pawn shop and it was already probably 20 years old. And it finally made its way out, but there is rebuild kits for these. They got like pistons and seals and sliders and everything. But anyways, if you're just starting out, again, I would just go with a cheap air file until that thing breaks. But I've had this for going on 10 years and I haven't broke it, and I did break this one. A belt sander is invaluable for getting to hard to reach spot welds or just grinding off the ends of welds that you've already done so no one sees that you've replaced a panel. Again, I think that one's a central pneumatic. Doesn't have a name on it, so I'm gonna guess Harbor Freight. That one's an old one. So when I started out, I just used a Harbor Freight DA, and then it finally exploded after like 5 years of straight use. You can pretty much do anything you need with a hammer and dolly, a DA, a block, and that tool right there. But if you're wanting to expand your tools, a DA is a must in a collision center, body shop. But I like, hold on. The Harbor Freight DAs are okay. This is a Performance Tools, just another O'Reilly's brand, I think. I've had this for over 10 years and it still kicks. And then I also have a Snap-on old school. They don't even make this DA anymore, but this one has the interface pad on it, so it's not as aggressive on the panel. Kind of gives you some wiggle room so you don't kill body lines and stuff. I would honestly probably recommend a middle range DA. They work good, and if it does break, you're not too sad about it. Got a couple more air tools. This is an Ingersoll Rand Mud Hog. It's an 8-inch DA. This thing will eat through. If you have a whole panel wiped with filler, this thing cuts it down really nice. You can use this, then you do this, and then you finish it off with your hand block to make sure it's really straight. This thing will strip a car. I've stripped cars to bare metal. Like the LTD took me, probably took me 15 hours to strip the entire car. It took me a couple days to actually get all of the paint off down to bare metal, but this will eat through paint and body filler and fiberglass and any other junk that people have put on the paint job over the years. And then I recommend a body saw. This is just a central pneumatic. This one doesn't work that great, I'll be honest. I need to get a different one because this thing likes to jam up. If you're pushing too hard, I mean, obviously, if you're pushing too hard, it's gonna jam up. It's more aggravating to use than I'm willing to spend my time on. I need to get a better one. This works okay for cutting through sheet metal, but I use it mainly for like plastics, like interior pieces if we're customizing stuff and I need to get rid of a corner or something. I do need to get a better air saw for sheet metal, but these are really nice to have. And if you're gonna be a body tech, you're gonna be priming a lot, so you need a primer gun. Some shops are gonna let you use them, but it's kind of your responsibility to keep your own gun clean. And a lot of people don't like borrowing people's guns. But this is a TCP Global. This is a 2.0 tip gun, and I've got some lacquer thinner sitting in there. This gun's all right. I actually think Harbor Freight sells this exact gun now, which kind of sucks because I paid like 70 bucks for this gun and then Harbor Freight came out with it. And I was like, man. Anyways, this gun works pretty good as a priming gun. Yeah, it doesn't work good for sealing or base or anything like that. But for a priming gun, it's like 50 bucks, 60 bucks. Works great. I've had that thing for 10 years. And then I recently bought Master Brand Pro Series 2.5 millimeter tip. So you can shoot metal flake out of this gun, but what I use it for is super build because I do a lot of polyester stuff. Polyester spraying, primer. This gun eats it up. I think that's another TCP Global brand, or at least they sell it on their website, but this is a way better gun than the TCP Global non-branded gun. If you're just starting out, get the cheap gun. If you're using a gun a lot, this one lasts quite a bit longer. The problem with Harbor Freight guns, and I've used them, I started out with the $15 guns. The problem with those guns is they don't last a long time. They're really good at the box, but they're good. The finish on them is not that great, so they're gonna start rusting and wearing out really quickly. So you might get 6 months out of a gun if you use it all the time. And then these guns, the fit and finish is a little bit nicer. Like I said, I've had this gun almost 10 years and it still works. Not the best, but it still works. It doesn't leak or anything. This gun I bought a year ago, 2 years ago, and I've used the piss out of this gun. And it's still pretty much like day one. It sprays awesome, as long as you keep it clean, because priming is really hard on paint guns. That's why these are my dedicated primer guns. And then I have other guns, but we won't get into that's more painter stuff than body tech. Oh, and don't worry. We have roosters in the shop. If you hear the rooster, I really wanted chickens, not roosters. One last set of tools if you're just starting out as a body tech is going to be panel poppers. I just bought this set off of Amazon and it works really good. There's keys for interior trim pieces, radios. Mainly you're gonna be using the plastic poppers. I've had this for a couple of years and it seems to be holding up fine. You can see which ones that I use normally is these like 120 degrees, the clip poppers, long reach panel clip poppers. You're gonna be doing a lot of popping panels, door panels, interior panels. New cars have a lot of plastic clips everywhere. Yeah, you don't have to go crazy on the trim removal tools. Just a simple set that I like this one because it came in a case and you can kind of visualize if you're missing any tools. The snap-on ones, I don't think for the money, when you're starting out, I don't think they're worth it. The new ones are like 450 bucks. This is like 50 bucks. So you could literally break this 8 times before you get to the price of that one. And I've never broken this one, knock on wood. This one hasn't broken. I have broken the Harbor Freight ones, but they still lasted like 2 years. They get a little bit more walkout in them than the $50, $60 ones or the $100 ones. So one last tool that I would recommend is going to be this electric screwdriver. It is not really an impact. It is not a drill per se. It's very low torque. There's the model number. But you fit 1/4-inch bits in there. And what I like about the snap-on version is it's got the forward and reverse trigger. Amazing tool for getting the Torx bit screws, the Phillips screws, any of those like 5.5 millimeter, 7, 8 millimeter screws for wheel well liners, any interior trim, and any like cowl piece, like all the plastic on the cowls that cars have now. It's just really good because you can't really over torque and strip out fasteners. I'm sure Milwaukee makes a small gun like that, but I bought this when I was like 18, 19, and I've had it ever since. It's never let me down, so that's about my only snap-on electric tool that I have. I think that's gonna be it for my bodywork tools. Every other tool is gonna start diving into mechanical stuff. Obviously, set of screwdrivers, pliers, set of screwdrivers, set of pliers, set of wrenches, set of sockets, the main stuff that you would have, whether you're a mechanic or a body tech. But these would be the start out tools that I would recommend somebody if they're wanting to get into paint and body is first get into body work, figure out how to get panels straight, figure out how to line up panels, how to tear off a quarter panel, put a quarter panel back on. If you could put one panel on, you could probably put 2. And if you could put 2 panels on, you could build a whole car. So if you're just starting out in bodywork, this is my recommendation of what you should have. DA, air file, mud hog, couple grinders, straight 90s, air saw, Durablocks, soft blocks, hammers, dollies, cheese graters, nice, the pocket tools, and at least 1 priming gun. 2.0 probably will do the majority, but I have a 1.8 gun, a 2.0, and a 2.5 gun just for the different thicknesses of primers. But once you're in a shop or once you start using a certain line of product, you're gonna know what's your go-to gun. So mainly I just use my 2.5 on everything. I just throw a lot of material down and sand it off on the floor. So if there's anything you guys think I missed on what you should have as a basic body tool kit, let me know in the comments. There is obviously stuff I've talked about. The body clamps. There's some things I didn't show you guys, like the welding magnets to hold sheet metal on. C-clamps are really nice for rocker panels or like frame rails. And then, like I said, you've got different things like spoons. I mean, you can go overboard on tools, obviously, but I think this is a really good variety of basic body tools. Anyways, thanks guys for watching, liking, subscribing, commenting. I think I'm gonna do another video series like this because it just got me thinking when I did the toolbox tour of things that I would need or want and just starting out what I think you should need. Again, thanks for liking, subscribing, watching. I'll see you on the next one. Maybe I'll do the basic mechanic tools you're gonna need if you're gonna start working on cars, and whether it's going to be like Japanese, European, American. Depends on the cars you wanna work on or depends on where you wanna go, but I might do another video of the basic mechanic tools you need to get going. I guess I almost forgot the must-haves is going to be PPE. Shops are supposed to supply you with them, but I always say just get your own, and then you don't have to question whether you're gonna have gloves or glasses or anything. But nice set of gloves. These are work gloves / I use them for welding. A sanding respirator, so this is not rated for VOC chemicals and all that. And then a priming respirator or paint respirator. This is going to block all the harmful VOCs that are going to be entering your lungs if you don't wear it. A nice set of safety glasses. The cheap ones work, but you end up not losing a set of glasses if you paid money for them. And then lastly, I always keep earplugs in my pocket at all times. I don't care if I'm swimming, if I'm riding a dirt bike, if I'm cutting stuff, I always have a set of ear protection. Obviously, you can go with the ear muffs if you don't like just the ear plugs. Any type of ear protection, any type of eye protection. Gotta protect your lungs, and your fingers will thank you if you don't cut them off. But anyways, see you on the next one.